Welcome to John's Tarot, Tuesday morning edition. This is my weekly edition of my audio-only podcast. I was recently asking myself a question about the work we're doing, the work we're jointly doing, if you've been following the podcast. And my question to myself is, why individuation? Why this spiritual growth is necessary right now? Now, I realize not everyone would choose to do this work, but everyone who intends to remain psychologically current will be required to do some version of it. Individuation is not a spiritual luxury. It's an adaptive requirement in periods of rapid cultural, technological, and moral change, when external structures, institutions, narratives, identities can no longer reliably organize meaning. The task shifts inward. Jung warned that when individuation is avoided under these conditions, the psyche compensates through projection, polarization, mass movements, and psychic contagion, which is exactly what we're living through. What I'm seeing isn't that everyone must become individuated in the Jungerian sense. It's that the old unconscious adaptations are failing. People will either update their inner operating system or regress into fear, certainty-seeking, and tribal fusion. To stay current means tolerating ambiguity, holding paradox, relinquishing borrowed identities, developing inner authority rather than outsourcing meaning. That's not ideology, it's maintenance. Many won't choose it. They'll seek sedation through outrage, nostalgia, addiction, certainty, or distraction. That's not a moral failure, it's a psychological limit. And I am, and you are already here because we were forced through the fire early. This episode isn't about teaching something new. It's about naming something that's already happening. People feel unsettled. Old explanations aren't working. External certainty is collapsing. Many feel pressure without knowing why. This is not pathology. This is not failure. This is not a personal flaw. What I want to talk about today is why this kind of inner work is becoming necessary, not optional for some people. The conditions we're experiencing right now include a rapid speed of change, fragmentation of meaning, polarization, informal information overload, loss of trusted institutions, moral confusions. For a long time, culture carried the individual, but now the individual is being asked to carry themselves. What used to work no longer does. Let me name some outdated adaptations. Borrowed identities, group certainty, external authority, moral outsourcing, avoidance through distraction. These strategies worked once, but they're just no longer sufficient. Individuation is a response, not a belief. What we're doing here is we're not doing self-improvement. We're not achieving enlightenment, not spiritually bypassing, and not becoming special. Individuation is a process of becoming psychologically whole, and whole enough to live without a borrowed certainty. The key elements include inner authority, capacity to hold opposites, tolerance for uncertainty, responsibility for one's projections. The cost. This is where the rubber meets the road. Namely, the cost includes loss of innocence, a loss of belonging, loss of comforting narratives, loneliness, grief. But what's gained is something rarer. Inner authority, moral independence, the capacity to hold opposites without collapsing, and a life oriented towards meaning rather than survival. Most people unconsciously avoid individuation because the price is just too high. You didn't avoid it, we didn't avoid it. We were thrown into it, and we stayed conscious. That doesn't make any of us special. This work asks something real of you, and that's why not everyone will choose it. This isn't a judgment, it's a limit. Why some people can't avoid it. Some people reach the point where not doing the work becomes more painful than doing it. In situations like where you attend to do it in your crisis, addiction, which was happened to me, and crisis happened to me, illness, exposure to death, moral injury, deep disillusionment. When that happens, the work doesn't feel chosen, it feels necessary. This work isn't about fixing yourself. It's about staying conscious in a time that rewards unconsciousness. If you feel called to it, you're not early and you're not late. You're right on time. So let's do a little tarot reading for today. My ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. So, according to the tarot and the runes, I'll throw some runes on this. Why is individuation necessary today? Even though I went through a long podcast in order to explain it, why is individuation necessary for today? Shuffle the deck. Why is individuation necessary for today? Cut the cards. My first card is the moon. How appropriate. In the moon, you see two wild dogs and the moon shining between two towers, and a crab crawling out of the water. That's usually has the crab crawling out of the water is usually indication of the subconscious making an appearance. The two towers, that has to do with the Temple of Solomon, the towers of Boaz and Jachin from the Temple of Solomon, or from the Kabbalah, severity and mercy. So you're walking between those two towers. Oh, that's my second card. The Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups has to do with making a choice, having a lot of options. And, it asks you to focus on one thing and make a choice on that one thing. Once I throw the runes on there, it'll be a much clearer indication. My third card is the Four of Cups. What has to do with dissatisfaction with the status quo. How appropriate. Odin, Freya, please help guide this reading. For the moon. My first rune is this rune is called Uraz, and it has to do with underneath the moon. It has to do with hard work. Let me throw out the runes and I'll finish the reading. For the Seven of Cups, the rune is called Nathes. Has to do with delay. And for the Four of Cups, the rune is pop right into my hand. That one is called Kenaz. So, as I read it, the road of individuation is darkly lit by the moon. And it's not always a clear road. That's why I'm doing this podcast, is to give you guys a clear path, a clear of where you're going. And it's going to bring forth the hidden issues of the subconscious and the two opposing forces that you have within you. You see the wild dog and the tame dog of the moon, the animus and the anima, and the subconscious coming out, and the crab, the subconscious coming out of the water. And then the two towers, severity and mercy. And then the rune has to do with working hard. The rune is called Uraz, and it has to do with the ancient Auric. This work is not easy. That's why I call it work. It has to be done slowly, but you have the ability, you have the strength to do this work if you're listening to this podcast. The second card is the Seven of Cups. Why is it important that we do this work? I think as I look at the cups, that is the different stages of individuation. And I did a podcast on the different stages of individuation. Where are you at on that continuum? And the rune Nathes, take a little time and consider it. Take a look at where you're at, what kind of things have been appearing in your life before you make a decision on moving forward. And then the final rune is the final tarot card is the Four of Cups. And you see a man sitting there with three cups in front of him and one cup being handed to him, and that is a dissatisfaction. So you may be dissatisfied with the answers you're getting from life, dissatisfied with the answers you're getting from authority, dissatisfied with the answers you're getting from old churches, political parties, old systems of authority. They're just not answering your questions. And you see a cup behind you, and that has to do with this podcast. I'm offering you a different way to look at life. And then the rune, Kenas, has to do with a luck. It has to do with portal to a portal from the dark to the light. Also has to do with new ideas, new concepts, and really that's what this whole podcast is about: is to give you a portal for a new way of viewing the world. So over really quick, we had the moon and Uraz. So why is it important? Because I'm offering a little light in this darkly lit travail and this path, and it's hard work. You got to do a little work. And if you're doing the work and you're already having this experience, pick out exactly where you're at on this path of individuation, and then pause a little bit, give it a little thought. And then the Four of Cups, if you're dissatisfied with the answers you're getting from the major news, the major news systems or political parties or leadership, the things that just aren't meeting your needs anymore, take a look at what I'm offering in this podcast, and it will offer some new light. Well, that's all I got for today. In the next episode, I'll talk about synchronicity. Not as something mystical, but as something that often appears when inner life begins to organize itself. So, until Friday, be careful, be cool, be kind. Remember, have courage, find faith, and I will talk to you all again on Friday, and we're going to talk about synchronicity. I have a video on synchronicity, and then next Tuesday, I have another audio podcast on synchronicity. So have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. If you want to contact me, you can go out to my webpage at johnstarot.net, and there's a contact button out there. And also, I have the whole curriculum out there put in order. So if you wanted to pick up this curriculum for yourself, I have it all put up there in order, starting with Jung and 12 steps. But till next week, I'll talk to you later. I talk too much. All right, bye-bye. Have a great week. Bye-bye.